pec major trigger point. Knots in this giant muscle can create pain in the shoulders, arms, fingers, and even make it feel like you have thoracic outlet syndrome. But how does a knot in your big old titty feel like TOS, and what can you do about it? My name is Adam. I'm the owner of trainingmassage.com, and I've helped thousands of people get rid of their TOS in record time using my online programs and my pain to strength system. Now, the answer to the first question, which is how they're connected, has to do with the superficial front arm line. You see, when you have some kind of tension like a trigger point in one of these fascia lines, what ends up happening is the entire fascia line becomes affected, resulting in it becoming basically more tight or having more tension. So what ends up happening now is because you have a knot up here in the chest, the entire fascia line gets tightened, restricted, and you end up feeling that in your fingers and hands. And because it is a trigger point pain, which is known as referral pain, anytime you feel it somewhere else that is not located, it can actually feel like nerve-like pain, right? It can feel tingly, numbness, when it's really just fascia pain, trigger point pain, right? I use those interchangeably there, so just FYI. Oh, and if you're not sure if you have TOS or even carpal tunnel syndrome, maybe even both, then make sure to check out my free quiz, which is going to tell you whether you have one or the other or both, and even give you a simple plan for you to get rid of that pain fast. The link for that is in the description below, and it's absolutely free. So how do we actually get rid of the trigger points within these fascia restrictions, specifically the pec major? Well, in order to do that, we need to do a simple self-massage routine using a foam roller or a 5-inch ball. Now, we're not going to be using this like a normal way, right? We're just rolling back and forth on it and hoping for the best. I want to give you a simple sequence that you can do right now. First off, we are going to roll a little bit back and forth to simply warm up the muscle for about 30 seconds. The idea of this is we have low to medium pressure while rolling back and forth and side to side on the entire chest, trying to not only increase our blood flow, but also look for the most tender spots that you can find. Now, for women, you are going to have to probably do this in a standing position with a 5-inch ball or something. And if you are big breasted, you just got to simply move your breast with your hand in order to work on the muscle underneath. It may even be a little easier if you just used your hand to do this as well. Just use basic circular motions on the muscle in order to try to get blood flow going and to again look for those tender spots. Now, once you believe you found the most tender spot within the muscle, go in and start doing some micro movements for about 30 seconds to a minute. The goal of a micro movement is to increase that pressure enough to the point we can create some changes in the tissue, but not to the point where you are now wincing and the muscle is contracting thanks to the pain. If you're pressing hard into the muscle and it is fighting back, it is contracting, it hurts, then you are doing the opposite of what we want. We want to find that perfect little center spot, that gray area between creating change and too much pain. But with that said, go on that tender spot and go back and forth and side to side, almost as if you're trying to rub out that little trigger point for about 30 seconds to a minute. And now from here, go ahead and do a pin and stretch on the most tender spot by simply pinning down that trigger point and then taking your arm through its full ranges of motion. Now, I do like to do this in a standing position with a yoga block and a 5-inch ball, maybe even a lacrosse ball, because now I'm able to get into some abduction and adduction, right? Oh, vice versa that, right? Adduction and abduction. I can also get into some kind of flexion or extension if I'm just holding it there, as opposed to doing it on the floor. But again, you do what you can here. If you can simply do on the floor and go back and forth with some rotation and going up and down, that works just as good. Now, considering the pec major is a big muscle, I highly recommend going through this sequence one more time on the next most tender trigger point that you can find. So you found the most tender, now find the second most tender and do the same exact thing, same exact sequence on that new spot, starting off with the micro movements and then a pin and stretch. Oh, and a friendly reminder, if you're not sure whether you have thoracic outlet syndrome or carpal tunnel syndrome, then check out my free quiz. It only takes a few minutes and it will tell you what you have and give you a solution for it. The link for that is in the description below.